Hello, everyone. How are we? Hopefully, everyone is having a fantastic day wherever you are around the world. Welcome back to another episode wherever you are around the world, and welcome, of course, to another news episode. Of course, international break, which does usually mean, of course, contract news, signing news, and of course, other bits and pieces as well. Anyway, and of course, as you can tell by the thumbnail and the title, of course, we're going to be talking about this man, Milos Kerkez. Of course, a deal looks like it could be getting closer, according to reports. Of course, obviously, it is all rumors at the moment, but of course, let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Of course, if you're wondering why my hair's looking a bit psychotic, which again I need cut, and it's getting cut on Wednesday, thank God. Anyway, but look, hopefully you guys are having a good evening. Anyway, as Hero says, within the evening, how are we? And hope you're all fine. Yeah, hope we're all doing fine as well. Hopefully everyone is having a good day. Of course, I think as well, obviously internationals are currently going on at the present moment in time. Of course, obviously I think it's Holland and Spain, I think it is. When I last looked at it, it was 0-0. And I also think France are also playing as well, which the bad news is Ibu Konate is injured, which... yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in a moment anyway. But well, of course, not only are we going to speak about Milos Kerkez, of course, you guys looking at the title, of course, we're obviously going to be speaking about Dean Huijsen as well. Of course, obviously kept a lot of eyes in Europe this season in terms of just in general. I think a lot of top European clubs are looking at him, and of course, we'll talk a little bit about him as well. And of course, we'll talk about David Ornstein's update as well on Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold, which again, I would honestly think, well, we might hear some more news maybe next week, potentially, of course, with obviously international break being a part of it, but also in terms of as the banner went off, as in terms of again, maybe we might hear some news, positive news anyway, over the next couple of weeks anyway. But we're going to dive straight in then to the Milos Kerkez news, and of course, I know you guys. Well, you guys are going to be very interested to know where, of course, we got this from anyway. But it is from a report anyway from, of course, Mark Douglas as well, of course. And it does go on to say that Liverpool close in on £14 million signing Andy Robertson replacement. So as you guys can see on screen right now, if I quickly move my microphone, as you can see on scrolling down, it says Liverpool are closing in on an in-demand Bournemouth fullback Milos Kerkez as the Premier League leaders set up their search for a squad reinforcement ahead of the summer. Kerkez has long been identified as an Andy Robertson replacement, or long-term replacement, I should say, as a left back. But with Real Madrid, Manchester United, Manchester City, and Arsenal all having expressed an interest, Liverpool are trying to get on the front foot and are making moves now. Contact has been made with Kerkez representatives. The iPaper has been told, while Liverpool have made initial contact with Bournemouth, but no bids has been tabled yet. Bournemouth will not sell for less than £40 million, according to sources. So, what do we think of the Milos Kerkez news then? Because I do think it is a very interesting one, and it's a very interesting profile. Of course, I think obviously a lot of people have got him on their list, of course, for an Andy Robertson replacement, which is, right. I do think if you're looking at that type of profile, if that's the profile you most likely want, it is probably Kerkez, in terms of, again, somebody who can run up and down the wings, can also, again, very solid defensively going forward. Again, look at the last couple of weeks, again, that assist against Bournemouth, against Tottenham, I should say, for Bournemouth, really stands out as well. And the fact that he's 22, I believe he is, as well, that for me, I think is really impressive in terms of, again, he's 22. Liverpool, the going rate is, of course, that much for a fullback now. We're talking about 30-40 million pounds, probably, we're most likely looking at 40-45, aren't we? Realistically, of course, in Liverpool's world, that's a bit excessive, just because of, once again, obviously, I think all the journals already has already come out and gone, like, Liverpool don't tend to buy these types of players because of the fee. Normally we end up looking around, I think what as a maximum, I think it's like what Liverpool's highest amount for a fullback is still Glenn Johnson at the present moment in time, which I think we ended up buying him for, was it like 19 million at the time? It could even be a bit less than that as well. But I do think it's a very interesting profile, and of course already has a mate in terms of Dom Szoboszlai in the team. Of course, obviously national team, and obviously the captain of Hungary as well. But I do think, again, obviously there's been a lot of talk around the left back position, of course, in the summer. What I personally think is that we'll sell Kostas. I think we'll keep Robbo for another season at a minimum. I do think, or I do really ask the question of, though, maybe do Liverpool sign more than one fullback this summer? In terms of, do we go and get a hybrid, and do we also go and get an out-and-out left back? While again, we could possibly have somebody like a Jarell Hato, who again I know has caught a lot of conversation on Twitter because, of course, I think he's playing tonight. I think he was at fault, wasn't he, for Holland's first goal? But again, a very hybrid left back in terms, can play centre back, can play left back, can be that third centre half in possession, really, how we like to build, with somebody then overloading on the right, and kind of like, what we have really been playing now. Or are Liverpool going to buy maybe a more defensive right back to be alongside, to potentially, be that guy that does invert, similar to what Trent does now, and have Kerkez to overlap? I think that's definitely another option that Liverpool can go down. But I do think with Kerkez, it's definitely that thought process of, like, Liverpool will, I think, be in the race for him 100%. I think, look, overall, even as this article says, in terms of, like, Liverpool had lined up Kerkez as part of a 3-man left-back shortlist. Sources said that with Bayern Munich's Alphonso Davies and Paris Saint-Germain's fullback Nuno Mendes as well. I will quickly get the article back up for you guys so you guys can see what I'm on about. It says there, Liverpool had lined up Kerkez as part of a 3-man shortlist. Sources said with Bayern Munich's Alphonso Davies and Paris Saint-Germain's fullback Nuno Mendes on top, or as their top picks. However, both have signed new contracts recently, so Kerkez is now the number one choice. Ajax's Jarell Hato is another player Arne Slot's considering for the left back position as well, which I think, again, I do think there is probably a left back, I should say, that we don't know about yet. That always seems to be the case, that, again, Liverpool haven't been linked with a certain fullback that, again, will most likely mean Liverpool might go for him. But with the more and more news that's coming out around Kerkez, I wouldn't be too surprised now, really, whether or not, of course, Milos Kerkez is going to be the guy for Liverpool. Because I think, look, it is a very interesting, again, position, because, again, you have to get it right, really, because I think everybody would agree it's a position we can definitely upgrade on. Again, even though Robbo has been tremendous for Liverpool, over the years, but he is slowly, running out, really, and again, that's not his fault, in particular. I think, again, the idea of having, 2 top quality left backs is something that Liverpool want to have, and again, if you can play Robbo in a backup role, when we're talking about, could Robbo then play in big games, really, and really bring out his best? Sure, I think that's ideally the position Liverpool want to be in, but also the quality level, we don't want that to drop. And I think this season, more than probably any other season, I think really there's been the lack of quality at left back, where Robbo has had to play so many games, maybe because Kostas isn't good enough, and I've even said sometimes this season, maybe we should be giving Kostas more of an opportunity, because of just simply, like, how Robbo's been playing at times this season, and sometimes it has been a bit poor. But I also think as well, in terms of, again, stepping up to the plate, when Kostas has been called upon this season especially, I feel like he has lacked that, that extra oomph you need in that position, really. And I do think as well, Liverpool, we need to upgrade in that position because, even though we're going to hopefully go on and win the league title, that's something now that you turn around and go, that's easily number one position you can upgrade on. And then, of course, then you start to think about, the forward areas, and you think about midfield as well. And again, that will be the stepping stone in the summer as well anyway. But, of course, let me know your guys' thoughts anyway. But where's your monetization? In the bin, to be fair, at the minute. But CBA with all these injuries as well, yeah. I think as well, as far as I know, Ibu did go off injured. So yeah, that's an absolute stinker again. So Liverpool gonna have to rush Conor Bradley back, because we might have to end up playing Joel Konza at centre back now, or you go with the best Japanese player of all time in Wataru Endo to play at centre half for the remainder of the games. Anyway, obviously, if Ryan Gravenberch isn't injured, seems like a right fit for the left. I would agree, Hero 100%. Don't want him. Want Ryan Aït-Nouri or bust all day. No, I think Ryan Aït-Nouri screams Manchester United more than anything. Like I say with Jeremy Frimpong, I know plenty of people say that Liverpool, and Frimpong makes a lot of sense, really. I don't see it really, but again, that might be the way he's playing at Leverkusen. But I definitely see him more at Manchester United than I do at a Liverpool. Which again, for what Ruben Amorim probably wants from his team, Manchester United, a player like Jeremy Frimpong would, be quality for him. But I think on the other hand, in saying that, United are not going to be in Europe next season. They're not going to. I say this, they could still win the Europa League, but you guys know what I mean. Look, they're not going to get into they're not going to get into Europe. They're very much unlikely going to be able to pay £33 million for a right back while also trying to get other positions. So who knows what will happen anyway? But will be much cheaper as well. Will he? I don't know about that. Between Kerkez and Aït-Nouri, will Aït-Nouri be cheaper? I think they're going to be around the same. Wolves aren't going to be, put, unless they get relegated, they're not going to put any type of downer on it, I would say anyway. But again, who knows? Pick up John as well, saying, heck on, two good signings, in my opinion. We also need a quality right back when Trent unfortunately leaves. I like Bradley, but he's picking up too many injuries. Well, speaking of right back, of course, obviously the Vinod right back got linked last night, didn't he? And he does look a very, very good talent. I think he's 18 years of age again. So who knows? Who knows what will happen? But I would agree, look, Liverpool need to sign a right back. But I think it's that same thought process of, what type of right back do Liverpool want? I do think that's also another interesting position where, again, you look at Trent, the way he's performed over the years. Do Liverpool want that type of right back or again, before he signed a new contract at Bayern, there was a lot of people who wanted Kimmich, because again, somebody who's experienced can be a backup at right back for Conor Bradley, or could now play at right back, of course, with Conor Bradley still developing. And you guys know my thoughts in particular about Kimmich. I think Kimmich was an excellent player. Now, I don't think he's up to scratch, really. But again, that's just my opinion. I know plenty of people will have a difference of opinion in that. But again, obviously, he has re-signed with a contract at Bayern Munich. So again, that's a no-go now. And I think, we'll talk about Virgil van Dijk and we'll talk about Mo Salah in a minute. But I think, was it James Pearce who come out and said that for him, if in his understanding, again, if Mo Salah and Van Dijk re-sign, it's going to put a dent in Liverpool's pursuit for certain players this season, or this summer, I should say. And I'm like, really? I don't think that's going to be the case. But again, who knows what will happen in terms of that anyway. But again, like we'll have to wait and see, of course, anyway. But of course, speaking on Bournemouth, then we will move on, of course, and we will talk about obviously potential double deal. Huijsen, of course, has caught a lot of eyes in European football, of course, and again, according to the same article piece from Mark Douglas, of course, it does go on to say that Liverpool could potentially be after him. Of course, they do. He does go on to say on the same article piece, as you guys can read right here. If I quickly scroll back up as well to what the headline said, of course, 4 Bournemouth stars wanted by top clubs. It does go on to say one recruitment source told iPaper in January that Bournemouth have 4 of the most coveted players in the Premier League transfer market right now: defender Zabani, left back Milos Kerkez, forward Anthony Semenyo, I should say, and centre-back Dean Huijsen. It's understood they're attracting interest from some of the biggest clubs in Europe. Kerkez has admirers at Liverpool, while Newcastle, like Sabani and Semenyo. Chelsea are also a fan of the Ukrainian defender Sabani, but Huijsen, 19, physical, imposing, and also superb on the ball, who looks like a jewel in the crown. One analyst who has worked extensively in the top flight believes he can become the best in the world in the position. And of course, that is the end of the article as well. Obviously, there's a bit more when you do go up as well when it says, but there, in terms of, again, however, an early Champions League exit, Carabao Cup final loss to Newcastle, and the weekend led to questions over depth in slot squad. Obviously, talking about Kerkez, but also talking about Dean Huijsen, and Liverpool would be interested in the £50 million release clause in the contract as well, which I do think there will be a vast number of teams that will go in for him. I do. I think there is very much the case of there will, again, I think Madrid's name's been involved. I think obviously Chelsea, Arsenal as well have also been linked with there as well. And I do foresee that. I think, look, he's definitely going to cause a lot of interest in him. Of course, he's a very, very top defender. I know there is some people who I think there was a joke earlier on social media that said that he's only got like 58% aerial duels won, which of course I think some people took it as a joke and then other people took it for real. But I do think it is very much the case of where the fact that, for me, looking at it, I do think we will see him go to a top team. And again, not to say Bournemouth, there's no disrespect in saying that towards Bournemouth, because again, they've had a very, very good season. But again, the fact that he's got 50 million release clause, he's 19 years of age, pretty much has everything now in his game. Again, I do foresee him making a big impact in Europe. And again, the fact that Juve sold him for pretty much nothing as well, I think that's another thing that needs to be looked at and obviously discovered, because that is just ridiculous. The fact that they didn't keep him, and they got rid of him, and then they profiled the player that was exactly like him, and they got rid of him. I thought that was very, very funny. Anyway, but Real Madrid will be all over him. Yeah, I believe he'll go. The thing is with Liverpool, and right now, why would he want to leave Bournemouth to join Liverpool to be the third choice centre back at the minute? If Van Dijk obviously signs a new contract, that's the question. It is the fact that why would he want to do that? And of course, Liverpool could easily turn around and say, look, you are going to be our centre-back for the future. Look at what, Arsenal did with Saliba, for example. They ended up loaning Saliba out to Marseille. And then he came back and was the guy for Arsenal, I should say, sorry. And Liverpool could do that. I'm not saying loan him out, but Liverpool could say to him, look, you are going to be our centre-back again, could play the odd game for Virgil van Dijk. Again, when we talk about Virgil having less minutes overall, again, having a player like Dean Huijsen come in and of course be on that level, you can then learn from Virgil van Dijk if, of course, Van Dijk stays. But I think that is the big question. Is Virgil van Dijk going to stay? And of course, we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, I do think it's an interesting one. Anyway, but I'll be intrigued, for you guys, of course. and a big question for the chat as well, whether wherever you're watching, out of the likelihood, what are we most likely going to see? Are we going to see Dean Huijsen joining Liverpool, or is it more likely we'll see Milos Kerkez at Liverpool? And for me, I think it's the latter. I think it's more likely we'll see Kerkez at Liverpool. Do I think we'll end up getting both, in terms of Dean Huijsen and Milos Kerkez? No, I don't think we will. But I would also say, again, I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool went for him, because he has everything. He has everything that I would look at, to be fair. But again, 19 years of age, Spanish international, it has a bright future ahead of him for sure. And I think Liverpool as well want to kind of jump the gun as well on somebody that, again, like how Virgil van Dijk at Celtic, was by far the best defender, of course, in the Scottish Premiership. But also, again, there was a numerous amount of teams that wanted Virgil van Dijk while he was at Celtic, and again, Liverpool, one of them at the time, and we didn't get him. Of course, he went to Southampton. But again, Liverpool took the gamble on getting Virgil van Dijk at such a big price. And I think, again, even at the time, everybody was, I think, overreaction in terms of everyone's like, oh, we have to go and we have to get, like, oh, how can we end up spending 75 million on a centre back, and this, that, and the other, and we got overpaid. Realistically, we paid now bang on the money. But it's also that sense of, if it went the other way around, Liverpool would have looked like fools. But of course, we were so confident that Van Dijk would work that we paid everything for him. And the same with Alisson as well. And people, as I've seen Cal Bavay say, FSG won't spend a lot, don't get too excited, realistically. And I would disagree with that slightly, because do I think FSG do I think will spend big in the summer? Yes, I do. I think we will. We have to, really, and then that's the thing where, number one, you have to back Arne Slot. You have to. There's no two ways around it, really, in my opinion. Look, last season we didn't spend a single penny. Of course, I know we signed Chiesa, but again, £10 million, not really anything. When you actually look at, again, the players that we sold, look, we ended up selling, what was it, Seb Vandenberg for 25 million as well. So when you actually look at it, I think Liverpool have funds, and if it's the right player, Liverpool will go for it. We know this, but I do think it's something as well where, again, it will be on the player that we want. Again, we're not going to ship around and go, oh, look, if this player's not available, then we're not going to go to a plan B or C. We will stick it out for that player. And whether or not, again, that's anybody that, again, that's already been spoken about, in terms of, Kerkez, Hato, Huijsen, Mark Gay as well, I think is one of these players that Liverpool are going to look at in the summer. But also, I do think it's, again, the striker position. I think that they are probably the two big positions, I think, in the summer: the striker position and the left back. I do think they're the two biggest ones that Liverpool can improve on. And then I think then we'll work around, then, can we add, a new left winger in that position? Yeah, we can. Can we do a centre midfielder? Yeah, I do think we can. Like, for me, I very much want Angelo Stella from Stuttgart. Sorry, I think he would be perfect in this team. But again, people may look at that and go, why would you want that type of player? But personally, I think Angelo Stella would be tremendous in this team as well. And that doesn't bode well for people saying I have a Bundesliga midfielder. Is fetish the right word? No, I don't have that. I know Jack's going to be, saying, "Oh, look, you said about Thiago," but again, Angelo Stella, man. If you don't know about him, check him. I think he'll be a tremendous player. Evening, Doug. Hopefully doing well. Of course, we will be on Doug's channel tomorrow. I don't know, Doug, what time is it tomorrow? Again, let the people know. I think it's 8 p.m., but I'm not too sure. Liverpool should be after Branthwaite. If he was available, I think we will be 100%. Big up Sebastian as well, saying Huijsen has been called by Spain, and that means he will cost more. He has a release clause. He has a £50 million release clause in his contract. So that's the highest really you can go to, can't it? So, but yeah, if you didn't have that, I'd 100% agree with you. To be fair, but Milos Kerkez as well for Doug. Jack's gone centre back, obviously for Dean Huijsen. Richard Hughes will play a big role, probably. You know, him and I think the head scout department, isn't it? They both are very much known about him, of course, and of course the contract they did sign as well. But mostly depends who we can shift out first. True, I do think he will be. Like, you look at defenders, probably Joe Gomez does leave. And to be fair, we will get up. I think David Ornstein did say something about it, didn't he? In terms of, again, Liverpool would have to make a centre-back departure before signing anyone. So I think Joe Gomez, that does I think hit that nail really. But the Huijsen has been very impressive for Bournemouth. Yeah, 100%. Excuse me. Doug saying look last time we won the league we didn't sign too many players. Was Adrian, Thiago, and Seb van der Berg. I don't think we signed Thiago, to be fair, Doug. I think we signed Thiago the season after, wasn't it? Yeah, when we went to Nike. It was him and Jota, wasn't it? The summer transfer, really. Doug Seb was after the Champions League win. Yeah, he was. The season we won the league, we signed Adrian, Seb van der Berg, and that was it. We didn't sign anyone else, really. But that's something as well where, like, I think Liverpool will spend huge this summer, but then next summer it's going to be very quiet again. And I think people don't really realize that. Like, again, I think Liverpool will sign players. Like, again, if we don't sign, if Mo Salah dips or if any other player dips, Liverpool will address areas, but Liverpool are not going to do a complete overhaul like what we did over certain seasons. Like, last or 2 summers ago, we changed the midfield completely because we needed to. This summer is probably a forwards rebuild, adding and of course adding a left back and 1 or 2 others. But again, if we need say we need an out and out proper right back or something like this, we're not going to completely fall off then and not address it. Of course we're going to, but we're not then going to go and spend another 100 million on a striker, for example, as well, which will infuriate people. Of course it will. It always does in the summer transfer windows. But we need to spend this summer to compete. Expect a lot of change this summer. Yeah, I think we're going to be ruthless this summer. I don't think we're going to be hanging around this summer for sure. I think we are going to be very much on it this summer for sure. Even to that, Cal, we need to spend this summer. True. I forgot those 2 weeks after the Champions League. Yeah. To be fair, it was pretty good. To be fair, wasn't it? But what else we got? I forgot those 2 after Champions League weeks. 18-19, we signed Adrian, Shaqiri, Keita, Fabinho, bigger names. I don't think we signed. Yeah, I don't think we signed Adrian in 18-19. I think we signed him in 19-20, wasn't it? Because we got. Yeah, because we signed Adrian the week of the Super Cup. So we didn't really, we didn't really sign him until then. As far as I can think of, anyway. But again, we'll have to wait and see. But what else we got? Felix, yeah, 100%. 8 p.m. lads. Well, yeah. So tomorrow we'll be on Doug's show. Doug, let us know who else is coming on. But yeah, can you sing next time? Go to Anfield. But sure, why not? and not mumble. Jesus, you're from Wales. You're blue. Blue get. You're definitely a fucking blue shite. I know that for a fact. Well, you're a blue shite that can definitely get the fuck out of my chat. There we go. Apologies for my swearing. What a drop! What a drop in quality. Yeah, probably. Yeah, to be fair, when you look at that summer, again, Shaqiri I think is an underrated signing that doesn't really get spoken about enough in terms of the quality he brought to the bench. I think that was really the first step of us having a very good quality bench. But again, that's definitely something where I think I think definitely like you can turn around and say that. Defo Luke's burner account as well. No, the Luke's burner account was my name. They spelt wrong, like massively wrong, as well. But yeah, get the fuck out. But yeah, again, I think if you're banned, I think you can still watch. You just can't comment. So if you're still watching, enjoy the rest of your day. Fabinho didn't play till late October. No, Fabinho, like that's the thing that people don't really remember of that season. The fact we got to 97 points in that year, won the Champions League, and we did it all with not having our number 6 until like halfway through the season. And that's something that's very much underrated. The fact that Liverpool did that. We ended up playing. Our midfield was, what was it? Fabinho, not Fabinho, Jordan Henderson, Wijnaldum, and then whoever else was next. So whether or not if it was Naby or James Milner or somebody like that. And we did. Fabinho didn't play at all. I think he had one Champions League appearance throughout the group stage for Liverpool. I could be wrong with that, but I think he had one. Anyway, but I'm not too sure. But again, even still, like the fact that Fabinho came in halfway through the year, again, that was a massive bonus for Liverpool. But I do look at it and go, maybe that might have again projected us to go on and fight for the league for so long, and of course go on to win the Champions League as well. What a time that was to be alive. Anyway, but we will move on, and of course we'll talk about Mo Salah, and of course David Ornstein's update on Mo Salah from The Athletic. It was from a Q&A part from The Athletic anyway, and I will get it for you guys. There we go. So obviously it is taken from Anfield Sector, so big up to them guys as well. But as it does go on to say, as you guys can see, but there, David Ornstein on Mo Salah's contract, he does go on to say, I just know Liverpool have been optimistic for some time that they will reach an agreement because ultimately they want Salah to stay, and there is a belief that he is happy and would like the same. Now, of course, the number that will need to be right on what they think it is proposed a 2-year extension, and clearly that has not been easy, but there has been so far been nothing to indicate talks have stopped or not moving in a positive direction. Furthermore, when you make checks on the rumors, reports, suggestions that Salah might be set for a move to the Saudi Pro League or PSG, for example, you tend to receive pretty immediate and firm denials. I also don't sense the Champions League or EFL Cup final defeats will have any bearing on the outcome of timing. The same, I suspect, with Virgil van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold as well, which, look, again, that's a pretty positive update. It's kind of the same update that we've had, though, for the last couple of weeks, isn't it? Let's be honest, it hasn't been, it's kind of become stale now, hasn't it? In terms of the same report consistently. We've not had a big, massive report for some time, really. Certainly with Van Dijk and with Trent, with Mo, I should say, we've not really had that big, announcement or that big, push really, compared to again, like a Trent, for example, again, I think it was a Dave O.C. Cobb come up with an exclusive tonight, pretty much confirming that financial things are not the problem really. I think it's kind of the same though, where we talk about like an Ibu Kanate, and when we talk about anybody else concerning a new contract for Liverpool, we won't see any movement in their deals until we know what's happening with Mo, what's happening with Virgil van Dijk, and even with Virgil, what David Ornstein was saying. So you guys can see, but there, in what he said about the PSG rumors, and saying all parties are playing down Virgil van Dijk to PSG. Liverpool remain confident that he will extend, and that seems to be the briefing from everyone right now. And of course, I think we're going to have something for you guys. We're going to have James Pearce on Wednesday, I think. I think. Let me think of the date. Yeah, Wednesday, I think it is. We might be getting James on, so that's not 100% confirmed yet, but we're going to be getting him on. I think it's either Wednesday or Thursday. We're going to be getting him on, and he'll, of course, we'll ask him plenty of questions about all all the players we mentioned tonight. But even with the contracts, I think it's more the case of we are just going to wake up one morning and it's going to be everywhere. Whether or not they're going to be leaving or whether or not they're going to be staying. As of right now, I'll ask the chat this as well. Out of everyone, I do think we're probably looking. We're probably looking Van Dijk, Mo, and then possibly Trent. In terms of staying, I do believe that. But again, we'll have to wait and see. Won't we? Why is that coming up on my phone? But again, we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, but yeah, and Joe that as well. Fabinho joined in the summer of 2018. Yes, he did. Joe, 100%. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, in terms of contracts, I do think we will hear something, I think, very soon with the contracts anyway. But we'll have to just wait and see for what happens for the future. Anyway, does anybody know what the Dutch score was? Let me have a look. It finished 2-2. Who got the red card for Holland? It was Jarell Hato. Brilliant. What an absolute brilliant evening it was for Jarell Hato. Anyway, but it did finish 2-2 in the game. Mikel Merino scoring very, very late in that game for Spain. Jeremy Frimpong getting man of the match as well. And of course, France losing 2-0. And Ibu getting an injury, which again is not great for Liverpool anyway. But what else do we have? Frimpong is the guy Liverpool should sign if Trent leaves. I've said this earlier. I don't think he'll join Liverpool. I don't think he's the guy for Liverpool myself. Think Netherlands 1, never mind 2-2. Yes, bet it's put on 2-2. Yeah, there we go. Put up £1 and got 20 back. Why not? That's fair goings, to be fair. Anyway, but look, tomorrow we are probably going to be live tomorrow. Probably might be a bit earlier. Might be around 7 tomorrow, because of course we will be on Doug's show. So it might be around 7, or it might be a bit later as well. It might be same time, like 9 p.m. So it's either going to be 7 or 9 p.m. tomorrow from us anyway. But no way, Frimpong. He is not good enough as well. I think he's very attacking. Like, again, I've not watched, apart from like last season, I've not watched Leverkusen much this season. I've not watched them in and out in terms of like we did last year, in terms of when we were speaking about Xabi Alonso potentially being the Liverpool manager and taking a look at how, Leverkusen was working in the Bundesliga. And he is very attack-minded, but we've not seen him defensively. We've not seen him in a defensive shape anyway. So it will be intriguing anyway. And again, it's the same with Holland. He's not playing in a back four. Really, he's kind of that overload winger type again. So would Liverpool play that type of way? We'll have to wait and see for the summer anyway. But look, if you guys, are just checking in as well, of course, obviously we spoke about Kerkez, spoke about Dean Huijsen, Mo and Virgil as well. But yeah, I do think Liverpool will sign Kerkez in the summer. As a prediction, again, nothing in the know, but still as a prediction, I think Liverpool will sign Kerkez in the summer 100%. Anyway, but look, we'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Anyway, hopefully you guys have had a fantastic day. Anyway, I should say, and I'm going to absolutely kill this household now. Somebody's got the heating on. It's absolutely boiling in this room. Anyway, but look, hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Like I said, tomorrow the show will either be, if we do a show, will be either 7 o'clock or 9 p.m. So make sure you are staying tuned to X or whatever you want to call it, or the community tab as well. We do keep posted on our YouTube community tab as well. Anyway, but look, hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your days. Anyway, and yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow for another episode. Anyway, but until next time, that's going to be it from me. I've been Connor from the Cup Council. I'll see you guys later. Ta-ra.